And so when you think of yourself, when you think of what role are you contributing in society, are you the visionary? Are you the manager? Or are you the consumer? It doesn't have to diminish your role if you're not a visionary and if you are a consumer. But the role that you play, whether intentionally or not, it will shape your success, your impact, and your alignment with your purpose. I'll explain the differences, and then you can ask yourself, are you positioned in the right role in society? And are you positioned where you should be? Hey guys, I'm Taryn and welcome to Taryns Business Hub. So today in this video, I wanted to speak on the three-tiered societal system that I came up with. It is the visionary, the manager, and the consumer. I came up with this tiered system after watching years on end how people interact with ideals, how people interact with structures and resources. And my dad and I, we always had a conversation about leadership and consumerism. And he was of the mindset, whatever you do, don't become the consumer in life. In a separate video, I talk about three of the greatest thinkers in our societies, and that is Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Socrates was the teacher. He challenged his students. Plato was one of his students, and he wrote and preserved the ideals and the teachings of Socrates. But Plato expounded on his understanding and the wisdom that was passed down to him. He was able to expound on things that Socrates taught. And much like Socrates did for Plato, that is how me and my dad's relationship was before he passed. My dad was my greatest teacher and influencer. I was able to take the teachings that he gave me and expound on them. We didn't always agree, but just like the Socratic method of challenging critical thinking and long discussions and dialogue, that's how my dad and I were in our conversations. And so this ideal from my dad that you have leaders and you have consumers, and his way of thinking about the consumer, it was a truth in it. But in this video, you'll see how I come to expand on that truth. And so when you think of yourself, when you think of what role are you contributing in society, are you the visionary? Are you the manager? Or are you the consumer? It doesn't have to diminish your role if you're not a visionary and if you are a consumer. But the role that you play, whether intentionally or not, it will shape your success, your impact, and your alignment with your purpose. I'll explain the differences, and then you can ask yourself, are you positioned in the right role in society? And are you positioned where you should be? I've been in business for 20 years. I've come to understand, even in business, that I started recognizing patterns in business and leadership and even in everyday life, that some people are here to create ideals, others are here to expand upon that creation, the rest are here to engage with what's already there. And if you think about it, this cycle actually repeats everywhere, whether it's corporations or churches, whether it's structures from social movements to family structures. They're able to create solutions. They challenge norms, they disrupt industries, and they can introduce something that wasn't there before. Visionaries, they struggle because essentially they're ahead of their time, and they may lack the resources or structures to execute their ideals. If you think about this in real life, think about Steve Jobs, for instance. He didn't actually create the iPhone, but what he did see is the future of technology. And he aligned with people that knew how to manage and create it for him. Because without execution, a vision is just an ideal. One of my core themes is all about divine alignment, your alignment with your higher purpose. And if you are a visionary and you're not creating ideals or bringing forth solutions, you may feel misaligned. So you can challenge yourself. Are you holding back because of fear? What is making you hesitant to move forward? Understanding this concept is not about your job. It's not about job limitations or your career choices. It affects how you navigate life. If you don't know where you naturally fit in, you'll constantly feel misaligned. And this is the difference between either pushing where you shouldn't or shrinking where you should step in. If you are a visionary, then you have to accept that your role isn't to fit in, it's to shift things and move things forward. Now let's get into the manager. Managers take a concept and they can turn it into a structured reality. They refine, they improve, and they build functions to make that vision functionable. Without the manager, nothing works long term, because a vision without management is just an ideal. Okay, let's put this into a real life example. Walt Disney, for instance. Walt Disney was the visionary, but it was Roy Disney who helped bring this vision of Disney out to life. He's the one that helped even fund the vision. Without managers, visionaries fail. Now let's put this in terms of divine alignment and perspective. What is your divine purpose here on earth? If you are a manager trying to step into a visionary role, you may feel overwhelmed. You may feel directionless, because part of the innate abilities inside of you, they don't necessarily create blueprints. Your role as a manager is to water a seed, is to help harvest the seed, is to help a seed grow. And if you are a visionary but don't have the patience to structure systems, then you need to align with managers, because that's part of their gifts. That's part of their innate talents. Misalignment happens when you're trying to do things that you're not called to do, when you are stepping into a lane that was not designed for the blueprint of your life. Alignment happens when we own our strengths. If you're a manager, you have to know that your role is just as important as the visionary. Your role is just as important as the one who came up with the ideal. Now let's talk about the consumer. The dread of my dad's thinking. This is what I talk about in terms of me expounding on wisdom that my dad passed down. When you think of the consumer, you think the power of choice. And this is where most people fall. But here's where a lot of people get it wrong. Not all consumers are the same. I wish I could have had this conversation with my dad, but I'll have the conversation with you. So you have what's considered the unconscious consumer. This is a person that is passively living. They spend mindlessly, they don't invest, they just consume. They're not here for structure. They entertain endlessly without empowering themselves. They don't try to purchase things that will educate them. They watch, they scroll, they indulge, but they never take action. And this is what my dad cautioned me against. Don't ever become a consumer. The lazy aspect of living, just taking. People that mindlessly consume are the reason that bad systems exist. They fund things that don't serve them. They reject change because it's uncomfortable. There are people that just live in cycles of consumption without any real contribution to society. And then you have the intentional consumers, the ones that decide to thrive, the ones that I spoke of earlier that we need to have engage products and services with. These are people that choose wisely. They support businesses and movements that align with their purpose, their causes. You have consumers that invest in growth. They buy knowledge and assets and experiences that elevate their life. They fuel industries with purpose. What they consume is shapes businesses and industries. And how does this apply to real life? Well, if consumers stop purchasing cheap, unethical labor, it'll force companies to change. If people prioritize health, it will force the food industry to change. If people purchase more from small businesses rather than billion-dollar corporations, then you are empowering the next visionary and manager that can create an expansive business. Being a consumer isn't the problem. Being an unconscious consumer is. If you're not choosing with intention, then someone else is actually choosing for you. And let me be clear. Consumers are not defined by their job. They are defined by how they engage with life. If you're living paycheck to paycheck with no strategy for elevation, then you are living as a passive consumer. And that's a problem. If you are a consumer, you can still live with intention. You can choose what you support and engage with consciously, because basically being a consumer boils down to mentality. It's your mindset. You don't necessarily have to be a consumer that just exists. You just follow what's in front of you. You just spend frivolously. It's not wrong to be a consumer. is wrong to be an unconscious one. Even if you are on a low-level job, or if you're in a smaller role, if you are a conscious consumer, you understand that small job can even serve as a stepping stone. But too often, these smaller roles become permanent prisons, and that's where the problem becomes. So the real question isn't about what job someone has, it's what they're doing with the role that they've been given. And the reason why this matters is because we want to live in a life where we are making better informed decisions. And we also want to be in a role that is naturally fit for the alignment of our higher purpose. Visionaries trying to be managers may burn out because they're ahead of their time. And managers trying to become visionaries get stuck because they don't have that disruptive mindset. And consumers trying to build and lead without skill sets, they become frustrated because they are in unfamiliar territory. Knowing where you are in this three-tier system will help you make better informed decisions. It will help you make more meaningful and engaging decisions. If you are a visionary, your role is to focus on the big picture and bring the right people in. If you're a manager, stop waiting for new ideas and work with what you already have. Excel at making things better. And if you are a consumer, start being more intentional about what you support. This is how you align with your purpose, not by forcing yourself into a role you were never built for. The key is not just to identify where you are, but by owning the role that you were meant to play. If you're a visionary, then lead. If you are a manager, then execute. If you are a consumer, then choose wisely. So where are you? Are you aligned in the right role? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video, and I'd love to hear where you are in the three-tiered system: visionary, manager, or consumer. If you haven't already done so, feel free to check out the website. That's www.TarynsBusinessHub.com. And if you haven't done so in terms of this YouTube channel, subscribe so that you can stay up to date on all the videos that are consistently coming down the pipeline. And I will encourage you to watch what's already on our channel. All right, I hope you stay blessed. And in the meantime, in between time, you'll see me in the next video.